Welcome to Luxatic. In this video, let's look at the 15 fastest planes of all time. We humans, we just love to go fast. It's something we've tried since the invention of the engine, fastest cars, fastest motorcycles, fastest yachts, you name it. That was fun for a while, but at some point in history, somebody came with an even crazier idea. They took the engine and attached wings to it, and the world was never the same again. The sky is now full of flying machines that nobody could even dream of 200 years ago, and some of those machines fly extremely fast. We all know that the airplane is the world's fastest mode of transportation, taking only several hours from a continent to the other, flying over mountains, countries, and even oceans. And when you think it took us several days at least to cross an ocean on a ship, it really makes the airplane magnificent. But no matter how fast the average human can fly on a business trip, there's some incredibly fast planes that will never be accessible to anybody, but a select few. Those are the fastest planes of all times, and as you might expect, they're mostly fighter jets or experimental planes that aim to push that speed barrier further and further away. If we piqued your curiosity for the fastest planes of all time, let's take a look at them. An important thing to note here is that the Mach number depends on the altitude, and you might see different numbers on various places on the internet for the same speed measured in miles per hour. So therefore, to be on common ground for each aircraft on this list, we decided to specify Mach speed at sea level, so let's buckle up and go. Starting at number 15, we have the Mikoyan Gurevich MiG23 Flogger flying at a speed of 1,553 miles per hour or at Mach 2.04. The Mikoyan Gurevich, reporting name Flogger, is a variable sweep-wing fighter aircraft developed by the Mikoyan Gurevich Design Bureau in the Soviet Union as a response to the F-14 Tomcat of the USAF. It entered production in 1970, and by the time it was stopped in 1985, there had already been over 5,000 units produced, making it the most heavily produced military aircraft in history. The MiG23 is no longer in operation in the Russian Air Force and in many customer nations, but there are still a few countries that use it even today. Among them, North Korea and Angola. It's one of the aircrafts that has seen air combat in several conflicts in the 1980s and the 1990s. Regarding performance, the figures aren't official, but from what's known, it can reach top speeds of 1,553 miles per hour or Mach 2.04. Number 14, we have the Sukhoi Su27 Flanker. The Sukhoi Su27 Flanker is a legendary fighter aircraft widely seen as one of the greatest fighters of the 1990s, a fourth-generation fighter that is still in operation today and can reach speeds of 1,600 miles per hour or Mach 2.08. It's an air superiority fighter capable of carrying out a wide range of missions, and it's known for its superior maneuverability. It entered service in the Soviet Union Air Force in 1985, and it's both in service and in production today. The success of this platform has spawned various other variants and modifications. Number 13, we have the McDonnell Douglas F4 Phantom II. The McDonnell Douglas F4 Phantom II is an older aircraft, but one that proved extremely valuable to both the US Navy and the US Air Force. The Phantom II was produced between 1958 and 1981 and was designated as a long-range supersonic interceptor and fighter bomber. It has seen combat during the Vietnam War, and it managed to shatter countless airspeed records during its time. Its top speed reached 1,606 miles per hour or Mach 2.09. The last F4 in operation was retired in 2013, which might seem very recent, but given the fact that it was so efficient in its role, it had been the US Army's go-to fighter bomber in times of need on the front lines. Despite the retirement in the US, the F4 is still in service in other countries even today, one of them being Greece. At number 12, we have General Dynamics F111 Aardvark. A slightly less known plane, the F111 Aardvark, Afrikaans for Earth Pig, is a multi-purpose combat aircraft which, despite its nickname, was capable of superior performance. It reached a top speed of 1,650 miles per hour or Mach 2.15, quite a feat when you think that most modern jets aren't even close to those figures. Though retired, when it was in service, it fulfilled roles of ground attack, interdiction, strategic bombing. It had nuclear capabilities as well, electronic warfare, and reconnaissance. It was the USAF's primary strike aircraft during the Cold War, serving every conflict since the Vietnam War, until its role was taken by the most capable F-15E Strike Eagle. What made the F111 a great aircraft, besides its impressive low-altitude ground attack capabilities, was its huge range, which was more than double the range of the F-15E. That helped it strike targets in Libya in 1986 after taking off from its home base in the UK, making it a strategic bomber favoured by the US Strategic Air Command. Number 11, we have the McDonnell Douglas F-15E Strike Eagle. The mighty F-15E Strike Eagle, produced by McDonnell Douglas for the United States Air Force since 1972, is still in service today, and it is widely considered as one of the best American aircraft ever developed. It's capable of speeds of 1,650 miles per hour or Mach 2.15 like the F111 Aardvark, and can fulfill a wide range of roles. This specific variant was developed from the F-15 Eagle, which is legendary for its 100 victories in air-to-air combat and no defeats. Many of those victories were obtained during the Operation Desert Storm in 1991 in Iraq. The F-15E Strike Eagle was used in the same conflict to hunt SCUD missile launchers and artillery positions at night. The combination of air-to-air capability with enhanced ground strike capabilities have made the F-15E Strike Eagle one of the best combat aircrafts of all time. Number 10, we have the Mikoyan Gurevich E166. The E166 was a fictitious designation of the E1521 aircraft used for registering world records. The Mikoyan Gurevich E152 was a prototype that never saw the light of day, since the Soviet Union was more preoccupied with the development of the E155, later designed as MiG25. The E166 was an interceptor that had very good capabilities in terms of speed, reaching 1,665 miles per hour or Mach 2.17, a speed record it set in the summer of 1962. Number 9, we have the Chengdu J10 Firebird. The Chinese fighter aircraft was inspired by other Western aircraft, taking design cues from the likes of F-16 and Sub-37 Viggen. The Chengdu J10 Vigorous Dragon, or Firebird as NATO calls it, is a multi-role fighter that has become China's Air Force workhorse. It's a reliable plane developed starting with 1988 as an answer to the Russian Su27 Flanker or the MiG29 Fulcrum and the fourth generation fighters of Western Air Forces. It's equipped with state-of-the-art technology that makes it similarly capable with other 4th gen aircraft, though in terms of performance it's not exactly on par with the Eurofighter Typhoon or the American X15. Nevertheless, it managed to reach Mach 2.21 or 1,687 miles per hour. Number 8, we have the Mikoyan Gurevich E152 Flipper. Another part of the E150 family of aircrafts, the Mikoyan Gurevich E152 Flipper, NATO reporting name, was an evolution of the first prototypes, the E1521 and the E1522. Though there are a lot of problems to be solved with these aircrafts, especially with the engines and then the needed modifications for the fuselage to fit different engines, the E152 Flipper managed to reach speeds of up to 1,700 miles per hour or Mach 2.28. Number 7, we have the Mikoyan Gurevich MiG31 Foxhound. The Mikoyan Gurevich MiG31 Foxhound was an entirely different beast when it came out, replacing the MiG25 and the Tu-128. Development for this aircraft started back in 1967 and it had its maiden flight in 1975. The Foxhound amazed the world with several records, one being for the highest altitude, reaching 123,530 feet in 1977, and another for climbing the most height in the least amount of time. The aircraft was developed as a long-range interceptor, so speed was its primary characteristic, able to hit Mach 2.47 or 1,900 miles per hour. The MiG31 entered service in 1982 and it's expected to remain in service up until 2030 as part of Russia's air defense strategy, which involves taking out low-flying strike aircrafts and cruise missiles. Number 6, we have the North American XB70 Valkyrie. The XB70 Valkyrie is United States' response to interceptor aircrafts like the Soviet MiG31. It was a prototype for the intended B-70 nuclear bomber, which was supposed to be out of the range of any interceptor aircraft in existence, flying too fast and too high for any possible interception. Despite its high speed of Mach 2.67 or 2,056 miles per hour, the evolution of surface-to-air missile systems rendered it ineffective before even entering service and replacing the existing B-52 fleet. Testing at lower altitudes showed no important increase in performance over the B-52, so the XB70 never got the green light. On the other hand, XB70 Valkyrie was probably the most interesting and most ambitious aircraft ever developed, with an innovative design and wing structure that looks astonishing even by today's standards. Number 5, we have the Bell X2 Starbuster. This Bell X2 Starbuster is an older research aircraft, the descendant of the Bell X1, the first aircraft to break the sound barrier, as the X1, X2 was also powered by a rocket engine which allowed it to reach a record speed of 2,094 miles per hour, which translates to Mach 2.72 or Mach 3.196 at 65,500 feet. The pilot, Captain Milburn App, became the first man to fly more than 3 times the speed of sound. Number 4, back to the Soviet Union, we have the Mikoyan Gurevich MiG25 Foxbat. This was one of the greatest aircrafts developed by the Soviet Union, which had NATO worry due to its impressive performance both in maneuverability, in air-to-air combat and regarding speed. It was capable of reaching a speed of 2,190 miles per hour or Mach 2.85. The birth of this aircraft speeded up the development of other US aircrafts during the Cold War era. MiG-25 first flew in 1964, it entered service in 1970, with many still in service even today. The aircraft's engines are powerful enough to push this supersonic interceptor to Mach 3.2, but the speed was limited to prevent overheating the engines at high airspeeds, which is a big problem when flying that fast. Down to our last 3, at number 3 we have Lockheed YF12. The Lockheed YF12 is actually the prototype aircraft from which the legendary SR71 Blackbird was derived. There were only 3 ever built, with the final purpose to replace the F106 Delta Dart interceptor aircraft. The project was halted due to the resources being reallocated to the Vietnam War effort, and the YF12 was retired to the US Air Force, eventually being used by NASA for their research. It was only later that this became the prototype for the SR71. YF12 managed to reach a top speed of 2,274 miles per hour or Mach 2.96 at sea level. At number 2 we have the Lockheed SR71 Blackbird. The SR71 Blackbird has long been the stuff of sci-fi stories, being catalogued as a black project before it was officially recognised by the US. Developed from the blueprint of the YF-12, it's a long-range strategic reconnaissance stealth aircraft, and it's one of the most capable aircrafts ever created. The Blackbird is capable of a top speed of 2,500 mph or Mach 3.28 and operates at very high altitudes, making it virtually untouchable by any weapon system, including both surface-to-air missiles and the famous Soviet MiG-25 interceptor. Mach 3.21 is the speed at which the SR-71 can cruise, which is more than any other fighter aircraft is capable of, as they usually can hit their top speeds for short periods of time. This alone made SR-71 almost perfect to enter enemy airspace, gather intelligence, and return to base without being shut down or even detected. And top of our list at number 1 we have the North American X15. The fastest plane in the world is the North American X15. It holds the record for speed at 4,520 miles per hour and Mach 5.93, with Mach 6.7 being measured at a flying altitude of 102,100 feet. It's a hypersonic rocket-powered aircraft used by NASA and the USAF as an experimental aircraft. Their plane was retired in 1968 after a total of 199 flights. Once denied official existence, these aircrafts have made history, some of them reaching legendary status with their capabilities, especially when it came to altitude and speed records. With flying higher and faster as one of mankind's biggest dreams, don't expect this list to ever end. Who knows what's being developed today without anyone even knowing?